By the way, let's watch the time. Most sports talk. Yeah. Yeah, man. Commercial break shenanigans. MostSportsTalk.com is the website. We are live from the After Party Studios in Dallas, Texas. Next segment, Mo and I will talk about our trip to the Star in Frisco to check out some Conference USA Championship basketball. We will talk Pete Gillen, Carter Blackburn, my man Mitch, Water, amongst other things, as we preview the NCAA tournament by talking Western Kentucky versus Marshall. But first, some news and notes from the desk of the innuendo.
All right, man, look.
Whoa. Don't sound irritated.
No, I'm not.
His journey just gave you material for 15 minutes.
No, I'm not irritated at all. I'm more irritated to the fact that we keep going back to stuff like this because you know how I am with movies now, and when I'm watching them now as I'm older, watching all these sports movies and other movies like that, and I'm asking a lot of questions that I need answers to that I know I'm not going to get the answers to. So, me and Hendo, over the weekend, at the Mavs game, we were just talking about like music videos and how the videos come about. And so the Ashanti video for Foolish was off her first album, by the way. The whole setting was from Goodfellas. So the whole setting, the theme of the video was from Goodfellas. And then, of course, there was a scene where Ashanti and Lorenz Tate, there was quarreling, and a lot of quarreling was going on, leading to somebody walking in the rain to somebody else's house, to their friend's house. And so when the door opens, of course, it's Ja Rule. And, of course, she didn't say it, but you can kind of tell her face in this raining, like, hey, man, you already know what's going on. Can I stay here? Because I can't go back to the crib because of, you know who. Even though Lorenz Tate had the white headband with the do-rag on and smoking the cigar, after he did what he did, and just smoked a cigar like, hey, man, just everyday thing. So, after she did a little head rising like Miss Cedar was doing in The Color Purple. Every time somebody made her mad or hit her or something like that. So she looked up at Ja, and Ja was like, hey, man, you have to go home. Now, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me you already know about what's going on in my household, and you know about this dude, and you mean I'm sitting here crying for help, not actually crying for help, but you can tell in my face that I'm asking for help.
You gotta go home.
But you telling me I have to go home? First of all, are you going with me so I can handle this? Second of all, I'm not going back to the crib unless I have some kind of weapon with me to handle this situation. Even though they did show the scene where, she was on top of him, and of course in the movie, Karen had the burner. And, she was on top of him singing, hey, I don't have the strength to leave you, blah, blah, blah. But, Dave, why y'all didn't help, B? Like,
no chivalry?
No chivalry, like anything like that? He didn't care about her friend that much, like, go help? Where's the help?
Like, that was the most, and that's pretty bad. Like, think about the PR world we are in today, where that is a big deal, domestic violence and all that. And then you just say, you gotta go home. Was that good for Ja Rule to do that?
Foolish came out, what, 07, 08, 06? Hey, man. Hey, as the kids say, it's a different time back then. Okay?
You gotta go home.
But I don't think, okay.
That's what it meant.
If he would have said, we gotta go home, it's different, right? Because Jeff is gonna ride out for his girl.
Yeah. Right.
And we're gonna confront this abuser. Now, who's the abuser again?
Lorenz Tate.
Yeah, Terrence Howard was like.
Yeah, Terrence Howard was in another video.
Yeah.
Just lighting it up.
So Old Dog.
That's what you were thinking about.
So Old Dog was beating on Ashanti.
Yeah.
15 years ago. That's a different climate, man. It's a different climate.
Yeah.
You would think.
Does that video hold up though? 15 years later.
No.
No.
The sideburns look worse in HD.
And then also Ja Rule showed with a baggy polo on, talking about you gotta go home.
Was it baggier than the polo that
Byron
was skating in the ATU?
Byron, Steve Francis.
Was it?
I know.
Steve Francis.
Of course, they're gonna add the bird over
Steve Francis.
Look who's talking.
I just wanted you to answer I'm glad you answered my question because that's the same thing I wanted to know too.
It's not. Jeff shouldn't have told her you gotta go home.
And I'm mad because we share the same birthday.
Was Jeff scared that
Well, maybe
that
he-
old
maybe
dog
he
was
was.
gonna come to the studio?
That may be it. Maybe he told him. Maybe he was scared of. Maybe he was scared of.
He was gonna bring MC8 with him. He's gonna bring your boy Wax.
So maybe old dog was in route.
He was straight up menace. But, well, except on the episode of South Central when he got beat up on the back of the bus.
That was last episode.
Like, why the bus driver? Never mind.
And he did try to ring the bell, try to get off, but it was too late.
What's your next story, sir?
All right.
That's bad production.
Shout out to the Players Tribute, as Dave has let me know that this website is very awesome when it comes to stories and articles.
Well,
And we came about one article that has been recently, been afoot, is former Houston, Orlando Magic great,
Steven
Knicks
Jackson,
great,
Steven Jackson's arch nemesis.
and yes, Stack 5's arch nemesis with a pretty good chokehold. Shout out to Bob Backlund, Steve Francis, which quote unquote this story was called. I got a story to tell. It was a great story. I do not have time to read all of it, so I'm going to skim through it. I'm going to start at this part right here. At 18, I'm selling baggies on the corner in Tacoma Park.
Explain what baggies are.
Baggies are something like that you have on your table, but those small bags contain, paraphernalia and certain items that you give to consumers to get them a alternate enjoyment in life.
Well, that's a good explanation.
So he says at 18, I'm selling baggies on the corner in Tacoma Park, getting robbed at gunpoint. At 22, I'm getting drafted into the National Basketball Association, shaking David Stern's hand. Guess where the draft was held at that year? Washington, D.C. How the hell do you explain that? Goes on to say, I remember this one moment after the draft. I was sitting at the kitchen table at my stepdad's house, looking at $80,000 in cash, just sitting there for playing ball. It didn't make sense. My little sister was 10 years old. The first thing I did was buy her a computer. One of those big, compact Presario joints. And all I heard the whole summer was Britney Spears blasting out of the computer the whole time. Second thing I did was buy my grandmother a house. After a week or so later, I started getting all these random phone calls from creditors. They're telling me that I owe them money. So I asked all my brothers, what the hell are all these calls about? So his brothers went on and said, stop it though. Well, back in the day, when we didn't have any money, Mom used to sign off for stuff in our names. So that's the only way that's the only way that we can get credit. So remind you in the story that his mom had passed away. His dad was in jail for 20 years for like bank robbery and stuff like that. So he didn't really have a parental figure in his life besides his grandmother. His grandmother told him like, hey, you need to get out this corner. You really need to go. Cause like he dropped out of school and everything. So like his grandma was like, hey, you need to get out this corner, make something for yourself. So he went on to go get his GED, and he started going to these tournaments and trying out. So that's when he had went to Maryland. So going on, continue on in the story.
Why did you bring that up?
What did I do?
He actually described the computer.
Yeah, he described
He
it.
like turned to the Geek Squad.
At the compact mic.
He said, not only did he say compact, he brought the Presario. That's the greatest.
All right, now
Like that's your father's.
he goes on to say he's talking more about his trades and everything. It's like now I know people in Vancouver are still pissed off about me forcing a trade out of there. I damn near cried when I got taken by the Grizzlies at number 2. I was not about to go up to freezing ass Canada, so far away from my family, when they were about to move the franchise anyway. I'm sorry, but actually I'm not really even sorry. Everybody sees the business of basketball now. That team was gone. The only thing I'm sorry about is that I went up there and gave probably the rudest press conference in NBA history before they even traded me. So it's like, Canada, me up there, it just wouldn't have worked. So he said Houston was the perfect spot for me. People probably won't believe this, but Hakeem was one of the biggest influences on my game when I was a kid. I used to watch his footwork and I imitate him. My crossover, that's not MJ, that's not Iverson, that's Hakeem. Look at my footwork and you'll see the dream. And he goes on to say with the conversation that they had, he was like, Steve, yes, Dream, you're dribbling. What about it, Dream? You're dribbling too much, Steve. I don't want to do Hakeem's accent because y'all not going to laugh at me. So he started going on to say Hakeem was the voice of God. The fact that I played with him for 2 years is still crazy to me. I'm sitting next to him on a plane, and I've got my big headphones on with Jay-Z blasting. So Dream went on to ask him, hey, your music, what is this noise? He was like, come on, Dream, man, leave me alone. He was like, turn it off, Steve. I'm trying to concentrate on the word of God. So, after that, he felt like he was on top of the world, so he goes on to say, after the 2000 dunk contest, and after Hakeem and Charles left, I felt like Houston really embraced me. I still live in Houston to this day, and I can still walk around this city, and no matter what, people got my back. Even when I was going through some dark times the past few years, and I got locked up, everybody in Houston still had my back. How many guys who only played in a city for 5 years and only made the playoffs once get that much love? So, he also goes on to talk about when Yao came into Houston. He said, I think it's because of the energy in the city when me and Yao were together. That was my guy. When he came to Houston, we were some odd couple MFers. A dude from China and a dude from DC, and it wasn't even the language that was the problem. That was just a part of it. I'm partially deaf in my left ear. And Yao is partially deaf in his right ear. And we're trying to speak to one another in basic English.
Go ahead, Chris. You can have the rest of this.
Go ahead.
So he just randomly brings this up. Like, the story went totally left field. And he's talking about how he's deaf in his ear?
Oh, there's more.
Go ahead.
Goes on to say it was ridiculous, but that was my man. He was the kindest, most respectful, smartest teammate I ever had. This dude had to do 15 interviews before shoot around, and then 15 interviews after shoot around. Cameras following him everywhere he went on the road. It was crazy. And he would ask us, are you guys okay with cameras? Does it bother you? That's the kind of person he was. He was my favorite teammate ever, hands down. He was such a good player too. I still think about what could have been if Yao hadn't rushed back from his injuries too soon. And if they had just kept us together, it still haunts me. We have gone on some runs. Everybody in Houston knows it. But what did they do? They traded my ass to Orlando for Tracy McGrady. He went on to say that crushed me. It's not even worth talking about those Magic years, and it's definitely not worth talking about those Knicks years. That part of the story is like the end of Goodfellas, when everybody's getting jammed up and ratting on each other, and they're driving around looking up in the sky for police helicopters. It was a mess, man. I got to both of those teams, and it takes you to like 5 minutes of being in the locker room before you realize, nope, no wins here. Even when he went back to Houston in 2007, I was so happy to be home, but honestly, that's when everything really started to go downhill. He goes on to talk about Rick Adelman. He says, look, I swear I was working my ass off in practice. Ask Yao, he'll tell you, but Adelman was playing Luther Head and Aaron Brooks, and I was get to my Lou Rafer Austin over me.
Wasn't Von Wade on that team?
Yes, he was. No disrespect to those guys, but I was getting DNP CDs, Dave, and I'd be sitting on the bench, and the crowd would still be chanting my name. I come home at night to sit out on the porch for hours, just in complete silence. No drinking, no music, no nothing.
No drinking.
I just sit out there until 1 o'clock in the morning, just thinking.
Dave, go to answer.
Now go ahead, Dave, real quick.
No, I mean, finish up.
All right. You said I went to go play in Beijing for a minute, and then I tried getting back into the NBA for a while, but nothing. It took me down there 4 years to really accept that I wasn't going to play ball anymore, that it was really over. I had some dark days, no question, and I know people were asking what the hell happened to Steve Francis. But the hardest part is reading some BS on the internet saying that I was on crack. When I thought about my grandmother reading that or my kids reading that, stop Hendo, that broke my heart. Listen, I sold crack when I was growing up. I'll own up to that. But never in my life did I ever do crack. So, whatever happened to Steve Francis, he goes on to say, I was drinking heavily and that's what happened. And that can just be as bad. In the span of a few years, I lost basketball, I lost my whole identity, and I lost my stepfather who committed suicide. From the time my mother passed away, I was 18. No time I left the NBA. I never let my guard down, not one single minute. And I was like a soldier at war. I never exhaled until the end came. But that's pretty much basically what it was. And also, we hear like more issues from Steve Francis as to where, you know, a certain night in the club in Houston that he met up with, you know, with friend of the show, you know, Sack 5. And honestly, Stack is like not the guy that you want to be trying to mess with or talk to, even just get into it with that. Yeah, Hendo, yeah. We all remember that picture, and I'm mad that he came up with this rebuttal in this article about it.
So we are not to believe that he didn't smoke crack?
You still smoking that crack, ain't you, boy?
Okay, so did he smoke crack or not?
Yeah.
Yes.
I say yes.
I leave this, but look at.
That was CGI.
But of course,
He said it was alcohol. He said it was alcohol that led to that. His
What does this
appearance.
look like?
it was more than that to me, honestly. I mean,
What does this look like?
the alcoholism, yes. Even Dave.
Oh.
More inside information from our boy Bill Ingram, who reports for the Rockets. He told us that he had a trial one day, and he was trying out to get back and trying out to get back to the NBA. He came to the trials pissy drunk and everything.
Was he smelling like crack though?
No,
Okay,
no.
He said that's alcohol, man. Look, I know people.
Yeah,
Alcohol can do that to you.
yeah.
My thing is, if you made all that money in the NBA, bro, like you should be drinking better drink though. I mean,
At least I obviously was drinking Hennessy.
No,
Yeah.
like that's any good.
The part about the story I didn't understand was he had like a story full story. Like,
Hey, he's good. Does that means he heard everything too?
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
bought a compact Rosario.
Look
It was
look
for
what
his
year
niece,
it
though.
was.
I mean,
hold on.
sister, bro.
But Bebo, you don't mention that was the first thing you bought. Come on, man. Like he made himself sound intellectual. Oh man, I went and bought my sister a compact Rosario. Like I promise you, he did not know that. He probably had somebody write that for him.
No, I doubt that.
Now, as far as it being
It's all
spent,
him.
I mean, he knew what it was, but as far as it being on paper, somebody probably read it for him.
Yeah, he probably had an editor or whatnot,
Yeah.
and they may have asked him the details to like sort of give the story some juice.
The only thing I don't like what he said was that he was good in Houston. I mean, he was so good in Houston when he got manhandled in that club in Houston. What was his help at then?
It wasn't none.
I mean, that wasn't part of him playing, though. I mean, he did average like 21, 7, and 6, though. I do give him that for
They
one
know
season,
him.
but...
And he said
I'm sorry?
that.
They know it was him who got his chain snatched till it was too late.
Oh, well...
And he said that they had some great years there, but then they only made playoffs once.
But they're different.
like.
But why you mention he had to close that albums, man? Like, why? He didn't have to
That was
do that.
cold on live.
Yes, he was. Dave, can you see the
Okay, can you trust someone that tells you they got a story to tell? I mean, Biggie said it first, which was cool, but
Yes.
I don't think I can
Yeah.
trust anybody that can tell me they got a story.
It's that's just trying to lure you in.
This story was great, by the way. It was nothing wrong with the story, but of course, I'm glad that he told this. I'm pretty sure there's way more.
I'm seeing you trying to figure out how did you figure out. You broke down some key points that didn't make it, and he started talking about he was deaf. That doesn't make sense to me.
I think with him saying that, he was just explaining how how so well they were together, how they were both just different kind of aspects of in their careers and how they were.
So
as
they ears
a
was
person.
yin and yang.
Yeah, pretty much. He could have just said that. But don't say that you deaf in the left ear and y'all's deaf on the right.
That just sounds like
and,
too
he,
good
and,
to
I,
be
and
true.
I can still hear him.
Terrible.
What if we stand on the opposite side though?
Go to break.
I don't think he heard him in the playoffs that year when I was sitting on the paint by himself and he chopped that jumper.
You want to be a volume shooter, remember?
He
Thank you, Moden.
You better not say that.
News from the.
You better not say that.
Yes.
I knew that was going to.
Let's take a break. When we return, we will come back with some college basketball chatter, and by that, Moden and I sat courtside at Western Kentucky and Marshall. We will talk about our experience there. Also, some NBA news and notes. Mo Sports Talk on the afterparty.com.
Damn, I ain't never heard this one. Former NBA star Steve Francis fired by the Beijing team. How you get fired from a basketball
You
team?
better be here.
You get fired? I heard getting released for getting fired?